was going to say I did hit the button. Hey, welcome to the There's No Crying in Crochet podcast with Debbie from Madam Stitch and me, Biz, from Busy Crochet. I am just deleting the usual comments and then we'll move on. All right, so today we are going to be talking about a subject all of us deal with, but first things first. Got to do the business. Make sure that you like and subscribe to us on YouTube for notifications when we go live. Make sure that if you are following us on Facebook, that you are giving StreamYard permission for us to see your name so we know who's leaving comments. And Debbie, what's up this week?
Oh my goodness. During the week, business as usual, just working on some fun new designs. I mean, I usually do scarves and blankets and things like that, but I started yesterday a poncho, a granny stitch poncho for the
Really
summer. Yeah, it's in white and orange. It's going to be so
fun.
cool. So lots of designing going on, but I have to brag a little bit. My oldest
Mhm.
grandson, who's 13, passed his first degree black belt. That's a senior
Oh, nice.
senior black belt. He had his junior black belt, and now he has his adult black belt. We went to watch that test. It is grueling for
I know it.
3 to 4 hours. They were just beating the whatever
So
out
what
of
is his
him.
discipline? What martial art is he doing?
Karate.
Okay.
Karate. Yeah. So he has a first degree black belt karate.
Wow.
His younger brother is a junior black belt,
Mhm.
and his mom, my daughter-in-law, is a senior black belt as well. So,
That's exciting. Good for
yeah,
them.
so that's the big news for this week. What about you, Biz?
For me, it's I was telling you earlier, it's the fluffy butt brigade in my house now because we are babysitting on a daily basis my grand dog, which is a husky, and she is only 9 months old, so she's very, very opinionated, and she doesn't really have any training, so that's what we're working on right now. We're doing some basic training, and it keeps me busy, keeps me very busy.
Yes, it does.
Alrighty. So what is our topic today?
Our topic today is one that you and I actually saw a post in Instagram just a day ago about
Yes.
help me work with black yarn.
Yes.
We are going to talk about all the ways that you can make it easier on yourself to work with black yarn and darker colors, because black yarn gets the bad rap, but there are um, lot of culprits in this category, and working in a low light environment, which sometimes we have to do because of where we happen to be. So we're going to try to and give you all the tips today about how to make that an easier time for you in working with black yarn.
When we were chatting about this subject, you and I were goofing around, and I had said, when you walk through the valley of the shadow of crochet death, because that's what working with dark or low light or black yarn feels like. It is just, why am I here? I hate this.
I
And why do I
know.
have to work with this?
Well, we have good intentions, right? Sometimes
Oh,
it's a
for sure.
project that we choose. Sometimes it's a project we're working on for someone else, and it has a dark accent to it, a black
Mhm.
accent.
Mhm.
When you choose the project, you've got the yarn and you're so excited to get started, you get into it and go, "Oh, wow, what was I
Yeah.
thinking?"
Like, in your brain, you're like, "This is gonna be fantastic. This is I love black. Black is so like, it's sleek, it's sexy, it's all these things." The
Well,
reality
then
of black
I
yarn
should I
is so
should
different.
this should be the time when I share the story about I always crochet gifts for my kids for Christmas, and they're all adults,
Yeah.
have their own homes, that sort of thing. Um, for my oldest son, I decided to design a ripple blanket, but it has open work sections and then it has solid sections.
Okay.
And I bought a gorgeous tweed yarn from Lion Brand that I absolutely love. But I was sitting in the dark of fall in my
Oh,
chair at night trying to work on this thing going, yeah, only place you really have to count is at the increases, at the peaks, but then you have to know where the valleys are, where the decreases are, right?
mhm,
And
mhm.
I would get to the next row and realize that I had put the peak over here and put the valley over here and have to rip it all. Oh gosh, it was,
Oh my
but you know
gosh.
what? That blanket is, well, it's not getting used right now because it's summer, but it has been so loved in the short time that it's been alive that
Yeah,
it
that's
was worth
awesome.
every that I had to go through to
Mm.
get it put together. But
Yeah, and, the thing is that all of those gifts that we end up making for people, they really like, there's so much pride in them because they really do turn out so beautiful. So let's go ahead and talk about, first off, what are the pros of working with black yarn?
well, if you're making a home decor item like I was for my son, you don't always know what goes well with their colors, right? So
Mhm.
black goes with everything. It just I was a musician for years. I wore black all the time.
Yeah.
It just goes with everything, right?
Yeah.
That's one of the pros. And it plays well with other colors, right?
Mhm. Yes.
As you said, it's a great accent color.
Mhm. Tony and I, for a few years, were really addicted to, the oh Lord, what is it called now? It's a tattoo show. Can't remember what it's called off the top of my head right now.
Oh,
But
ink something.
Ink Master, thank you. But one of the things that I learned from them, and I kind of always knew it, but they really made a point, is that you can put color in, but if you don't have black there to help that color pop out, it just kind of it's just blendy, There's nothing that really makes it dynamic. And so you really have to have black in your design or in your work, especially if you're using or going for something that has a really dynamic, punchy design to it.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it, it's really needed. It's one of those colors we're just never going to be able to get away from.
Now, and we have to learn to work with it happily.
Absolutely. I mean, and make friends with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It doesn't have to be the crochet valley of death.
Ugh.
So, I mean, we kind of talked about some of them. Working with black yarns, the cons seem to be huge. And they seem to be what really holds people back from using these darker colors. Because I've noticed in different groups, just either the general complaint of, oh my God, I had to work with black yarn, or they say the customer wants it in black yarn. Is there any way to get around it? Or, these
Right.
things. So, um, let's talk about some of the cons and maybe ways that we can overcome those.
Well, the big one, I think, is it's difficult to see when you're working with it. So it's
Mhm.
difficult to see where the stitches go, where you're even supposed to insert your hook, especially with the kind of yarn I was using for the blanket because it had a
Mhm.
fuzz to it.
Yeah.
So you couldn't see that opening where the hook should go.
Yeah.
I did a lot of feeling around for where I should insert my hook. Um, so that goes along with stitch definition is difficult to see. So when
Mhm.
you're looking at a black work, if it has an intricate stitch pattern, it's really kind of hard to see. So for
For sure.
me, when I'm working with black, I try to keep it fairly simple so
Mhm.
that the yarn is the star of the show rather than something that you can't see is supposed to be the star of the show, and that's not going to pop.
Sure, absolutely. So I'm just gonna bring this out just because we're talking about ways to help us see better while we're
Mhm.
doing this. This is what I look like when I'm working with black or dark yarn. I have my little light that hangs around my neck, and I make sure I brought props today, and I make sure that I wear my extra pair of glasses because I'm just getting old and I need that extra amplification. Or you can use one of those lighted ring lights that has
Mhm.
the magnifier or something like that. These, you can get them on Amazon for really not very much. And My husband just got a 6-pack of these for $12.
Mhm.
So it's a minimal investment for kind of a lifetime use.
Right. I wear contact lenses, and so
Mhm,
since a lot of my crocheting happens in the evening, oftentimes if I know I'm going to be doing something with darker yarn, I will actually take my contacts out, put my regular glasses on, and then when I get
mhm,
to a spot that I can't see very well, I'll take my glasses off, put the
mhm.
crochet up to my face to get it closer to my okay, don't
I
laugh
d
now.
I do the same thing. I have
It's
to go like
it's
this.
like, yeah, yeah, I feel like my grandma, right? Um, my grandma's the sweetest person on the planet.
Right.
Um, but anyway, I will do that. Now, talking about lighting
Mhm,
around you,
mhm,
as I said, I crochet every evening while I watch TV, and my husband and I have side by side recliners.
mhm.
So we've set it up so that to my left, I'm right-handed, so to my left, I have a lamp that has 3 speeds of lighting: low, medium,
Oh,
and
okay.
high.
Mhm.
And a lot of times that's not enough. So we've put a pole lamp between our 2 chairs
Okay.
that has one that shines up to the ceiling and reflects and lights more ambient,
Wow.
but then there's one that comes over your shoulder and acts like a reading light, and I can point
Nice.
that thing right at my work, much like your neck
Mhm.
lighting, and get more light on my project.
So, basically what you're referencing to is and what I reference to is make sure you have lots of lights
Mhm.
because it's gonna make all the difference in the world as to whether or not you love working with black yarn or you hate working with black yarn.
Yeah, and it really made the difference in working with that black tweed fuzzy yarn.
Mhm.
The blanket got done. Mhm.
Mhm.
Y Alright, we talked
Alright.
oh, something
Yeah.
that my engineer husband might enjoy is a
Mhm.
headlamp. We would look absolutely ridiculous, but he's got a headlamp, puts it right there, looks down, sees exactly what he needs, and if you got one hanging around the house, might as well use it for your black yarn, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about another con, which is how to well, actually, let's not move on working with the black yarn first, because I know that another thing that just came to mind is maybe having a white surface.
Oh, right.
Oh, having white or something around it that you can hold your work up to, even if you just put a towel across your lap, like a kitchen
Right.
cotton towel or something, just to help you see.
And
Um,
that would show the holes in the yarn, so it would be
right.
easier to see where the hook can be inserted, where the stitches need to go, that sort of thing.
Hmm. But photography, when we're
Mm.
going to take pictures, like if you are a maker and you are looking to say, hey, I've made this whatever it is and I'd like to sell it, you want to show your product in the very best light. Or if you're taking a picture of a design that you've made, designing in black is probably one of the worst ideas ever. I've done it. And then I tried to make a video and I couldn't even see my stitches. Like, what am I doing? So, yeah, but
Yeah,
photography, let's talk about
I'm
how can we
sorry. I made the mistake of designing a scarf for my husband in black because that would go with his winter coat.
of course.
And then I made a pattern for it and tried to photograph it, and you can't tell what the stitch pattern is at all.
Yeah,
So just buy this black blob. Trust me when I tell you that it's made with this
it's
stitch.
amazing.
It's
It's amazing,
really
it's beautiful, you're gonna
gorgeous,
love it. Just
and it's fun to make. You're just gonna love it.
that's one of those situations where, like, you need to have a sample and say, "This can be ordered in black," because trust me, you don't want me to take a picture of a black hat, you're not gonna see anything. And there really isn't a really good way to get around it. You kind of have to have, um a really, really good lighting system in order
Uh-huh.
to catch a black item in all of its right angles and be able to see the stitch definition and all of that stuff, because I know it's possible. I've seen stuff online. I've seen companies
Right.
who have taken pictures of their own products and they were black. But when I'm sorry, I felt like I was like coming out the top of the computer there. But when you're at home and you're just a simple girl in a simple spot, or a simple boy in a simple room, it's really, really hard to take a
Mhm.
picture of a black item. So, yeah, it's always about the light.
Yeah, and I think that products you see online are probably taken in a light box
Oh, yeah.
where against a white background. I think another thing that you can do if you don't have a light box is take it outside and do it in, natural light, not in
Yeah.
bright sunshine, but under a tree where you're getting filtered natural light. You can sort of get the same effect, but you would have to
Yeah.
have some sort of light background behind it.
I was gonna say, because 'cause I've still had difficulties with dark yarns even when I've been out in natural light. It just, for whatever reason, it diffuses it too much.
Mm.
And hang on just a second. Um, so it's difficult to see, and hard. Photography is just a hard one with dark yarn.
Yeah. Well, that's another podcast altogether, isn't it?
It is. We're gonna have to do a photography one. I apologize. I'm trying to make sure that I'm not missing anything.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. All right. Well, let me help you out with that. You're not missing anything, but, um, I think we've covered most of the lighting, haven't we?
except the
And
lighted hooks.
photography, and we covered yeah, I think we've covered our cons. Should we get into solutions?
Um, oh, yes. Yes, 'cause that would be lighted hooks, wouldn't it? I'm telling you, I'm having a minute here. Okay, so I apologize that I was distracted for a moment. I don't know if anybody has Amazon drivers who take their stuff to the wrong place. I have a Amazon driver who takes mine to, um, 4 houses up this road for every single order. And I
Uh,
just
uh,
had to
that's
sorry,
crazy.
I had to deal with that in the moment that it happened, so that maybe they'll go and bring it here. Um, but anyway, so yes, solutions for working with black yarn. One of them is, well,
We
obviously the
we talked
light.
about the lighting, right? So,
Mhm.
um, if you don't have a lamp or something that you can dedicate to the space where you're working, if it's possible, get
Mhm.
near a window. So I have
Mhm.
this great bow window in the front of my house that lets in all of the light. So if I sit on that couch, I can see the couch is right in front of the window. I can see lots of good angles for my crochet.
Mm.
That's another possibility is to sit near a window or sit outside. Um,
Mhm.
Not ideal for all situations, like today
Yeah.
we have rain, um,
And
but
we've
it
got like
is a solution that
150%
you can
humidity
use,
here.
right? One of the things we
Mhm.
haven't talked about are hooks.
Mhm.
We I haven't used them, but I did have a colleague when I was, teaching music, and I would be music directing a show, and we would be in the dark, and I'd have a moment to crochet. My director gave me a lighted hook to work with that worked really well.
Mm.
I don't have it now because I don't usually need it, but that's a solution. You can buy lighted hooks in all different forms. I did a little
They've
bit
gotten
of
pretty fancy.
research on them. Yeah, you can buy them battery powered or rechargeable. You
I
can
apologize.
buy them in a kit so that you have a handle with interchangeable hooks. Um, you can buy a kit with all the hooks. Um, so there are all kinds of possibilities. I just went on Amazon and did a quick check.
Mhm.
Um, Lighted crochet hook is all you really need to put in. In fact, I'm gonna put
Mhm.
that in the comments. Um, so if you search for lighted crochet hooks
Mhm.
in Amazon, you'll get a whole list. Yeah. We have a comment, that goes back to lighting. Woolly Woolly chicken crafts. That's awesome. Good lighting, a good lamp, a white something behind your project, like a white towel on your lap. Good biz. I sometimes crochet a white cotton thread along with the black yarn and take it out later. Ooh, that's an awesome tip.
That is a great
Kudos
tip.
to you. Yeah, I'm writing that in my notes. So you just leave it unhooked to anything, and then it just comes out at the end. You're gonna have to share that one with me.
Yeah, just crochet over the top of it, I believe.
Oh, that's
You
an
know,
awesome
like you
tip.
would with a lifeline in knitting.
Yeah. I'm gonna put that in my notes. Yes. All right, so we already talked about, let's see, what kind of hooks here? Oh, someone else had suggested using a light colored hook. So, for instance, now I don't use these on a regular basis. These are
Mm.
furls, but that white would contrast with the yarn
Sure.
and make it a little bit easier to see where you're inserting your hook and where your yarn is. So a light colored hook. I usually work with these Susan Bates,
Yeah.
and they come
All of
in
them
all
are the
kinds of
silver
different
ones.
colors. Yeah, yeah. And that is everything we need to know about hooks. We did find a great article by Crochet Kim, and
Yeah,
she
and
does a
are we
should
I'm sorry, are we planning to link that in our description later?
yes. So
Okay.
in the YouTube description, yeah, I will make sure that it's in mine.
Yeah,
But we
same.
have a great article where she compares and reviews various lighted hooks. So if
Mhm,
you're really serious about that option, I would highly
mhm,
recommend that you get an inexpensive one first. Give it a
mhm,
try.
mhm.
See what you like because hooks are pretty. I mean, I'm pretty particular about mine. It could be lighted and be the most fantastic thing in the universe, but if it doesn't help me crochet, I'm not using it.
Exactly, exactly. Hooks are such a personal thing.
Mhm.
It's just like picking out your this is gonna of course, I'm going TMI. It's like where what kind of underwear do you wear? Are you a brief or are you a bikini? It
Yeah, it's
it's
pretty
pretty
personal.
personal.
So I would highly recommend trying one out that's not expensive, that looks a lot like the hook that you like to use. So,
Mhm,
like I said, I use Susan Bates inline. Find one. Now it's gonna have a handle on it because it has to have somewhere for the, um, lighted stuff, right?
yep,
The lighting stuff. But make sure that it has the inline or the tapered that you
mhm,
like, and a shaft that's long enough.
mhm.
So, if it's got only a teeny little shaft and you need more room, now
Yeah.
it's not gonna work for you.
Yeah, and they make them in so many different styles now because there are the
Mhm.
ones that just have that tiny little hook where it pops on the top of a handle, and then there are other ones that do have that more space, so you're not stuck, and that Crochet Kim article does have a large variety. I think there's 8 different hook, variations or sets that she looked up and reviewed, so it's a good place if you're looking for some information.
I'm gonna put it in the comments here,
Okay.
and then we'll make sure it's in the description as well. Woolly Chicken Crafts, thank you for being here. My hubby has a headlamp he uses when he's working on vehicles, so his hands are free. Good plan. I kept borrowing it, so he got me one of my own. Those are great too. See, there are tools that we can borrow and procure. I love it. All right. What else do we have listed here? We talked about that. Oh, this is one that you may or may not be able to do, but when you're choosing a project and you know you're going to be doing it in black yarn,
Mhm,
choose a project that has simple stitches,
mhm.
repeated stitches, or it's an open work pattern. So it's not
Mhm.
solid um, fans
Super
and
intricate,
cables and all of that
lots of
kind of stuff.
haunting.
Well, that's one of the things that we're gonna suggest is to count, but we don't wanna make that, something we have to do, right? So
Right.
if you're choosing a project, keep the stitches simple, um, and try to get an open work pattern or something that you can easily see as you're working. Oh,
Well, the only reason that I bring up, lots of counting is because I have a tendency to memorize a pattern
mhm.
within the first couple rows,
Yeah,
especially if it's a repeat.
yeah,
So I'll do a lot by feel more so than I'll do it by counting after a while. And I don't want to have to work on a pattern that I literally have to look at every single stitch that I'm working on with
right.
dark yarn. It's impossible.
That would be horrible.
It's
So,
a
yes, keep it
nightmare.
simple. Ooh, here's a good one. Do you ever use stitch markers to
Yes.
figure out where things are?
I do. I use stitch markers all of the time. They're one of my most favorite tools,
Mhm.
but especially in a situation like this, and especially if I'm doing something where I do have to count or pay attention and, like so many stitches requires a bobble or a popcorn or whatever,
Yep.
I will count it out and I will put a stitch marker in those places where it also helps me to pay attention to and not do like you had said, where you get to the top of the hill and you cocked your hill because if you have to count, you're very easily going to miss something along the way.
Yeah, and I just hate a project that slows me down. Crochet for me is mindful, right?
Yes.
I do
Yes.
more intricate stuff. Yes, I do. I don't stick to
Mhm.
just single crochet. This don't get me wrong, but
Right.
for me, crochet is not only my business, but it's also my stress relief. So
Mhm.
if my crochet is stressing me out, I
Yeah.
failed
I'm going in the
in that
wrong
mindful
direction here.
crochet, right? This is not working for me. So I try to I have just yesterday when I was starting a new project, that one that I was talking about, that's a wide
Mhm.
poncho.
Yeah.
I put stitch markers every so many stitches so that
Yeah.
I did not have to count 140 stitches 3 times. Preach,
Amen, girl.
sister, right?
Absolutely.
So, ooh, you don't happen to have one close at hand? Because I want everybody to see the kind that you use because 'cause they're pretty cool.
Mhm. Yes, I do. I was actually just I'm reverse engineering a pattern that I did about 10 years ago and realized I never wrote it down. So
Ah,
now I have the nightmare job of trying to figure out what the heck I did. So I am breaking out my little stitch markers, which you can get Amazon, like a butt ton of them in a package for like
mhm.
$9. And they come in all
But
different colors. So if you want to color coordinate anything, I'm just going to show you. This is the small box that I keep on this
oh,
table.
that's awesome. I can't remember what those are called. Are they actually called stitch markers?
They are. Hmm.
Oh, alright.
Yep.
Well, because they look a lot like, some safety pins that you can get.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
No, if you go on Amazon and you look up metal stitch markers, um,
Ah,
any
gotcha.
of that, it'll pop right up.
Perfect. Gotta get me some of those.
Hmm. They're wonderful.
Alright. So, have you got any more suggestions for our audience about what they can do? We've got a
Um,
couple more on the list.
I mean, the lighted hooks, I noticed that we didn't talk about crocheting in the car
We
or
didn't, and I
anything like
have
that.
hashtag travel crochet all over
Mhm.
my Instagram.
Yeah, because it really, they they will help you with that. Although I just don't recommend black yarn at night in a car. It's not a smart thing to do. Not that it's a dumb thing, but you know what I mean? It's
I
sort of
wouldn't make that choice, to be honest.
yeah, okay, thank you. That's what we mean.
I would
That is what
choose
we
something
mean.
light that kind of reflects in the dark.
But we did touch on this one, wear
Mhm.
strong reading glasses, or something like that. I know my mom for a very long time had, what is that thing called? A magnifying glass that had that ring light around it. She used it for
Yep.
quilting, but it would suffice and do the exact
Mhm.
same thing in a situation where you're working with darker black yarn. So anytime you can magnify what you are doing, you're going to see better.
What about these two can go together? Count often
Yes.
and don't be afraid to frog.
Yes.
I'm afraid you
Always
got to
check.
do it. Yep, you got to do it.
Always. Well, and those are go-tos for every single project,
Yeah.
but especially when you're working with the dark stuff, because if you're putting that kind of time and energy into your project, you want it to look nice at the end. And yes, I mean, we all adopt the whole Amish thing where if there's a mistake in it because we're human, and it makes, it keeps us realizing that we're not flawless, all this stuff. However, I'm a perfectionist. And I really don't espouse to the whole, I'm okay with there being a problem with my, it will bother me so badly. I have to rip it out. So
Oh my goodness.
become friends with frogging. It's just a part of life.
It is one of your best crochet friends, right?
Yes.
The frog. That's what we should design is a little bobblehead frog that just sits right here. Don't be afraid to frog. I'm sorry.
And it needs
Just
to
add
have one of those little drawstring things like Woody did,
Yes!
so that it has like
Or
3 different sayings.
he could be like the Pillsbury Doughboy where you just punch his stomach. We digress.
Oh my god.
I see a future for there's no crying in crochet
Oh my
for all the tchotchkes, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh my
Holy cow,
gosh.
that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh. All right, so we've talked about things that you have to pay for, and we've
Mhm,
talked about some things you don't have to pay for.
mhm,
But there will come a time when you just don't wanna spend the money on the
mhm.
fancy stuff, even
Yep.
the inexpensive fancy stuff. So, what would be some suggestions for someone who doesn't wanna spend money, but wants to solve the problem so they're not ripping their hair out or the project?
It's really gonna boil down to what do you have in your house? Do you have a light towel? Do you have a white background?
Mhm,
Can you get near a window? Are you able to do it at a time of day when you can use natural light?
mhm.
Those are all gonna be your best friend. Um, they're beyond spending a few dollars. Well, and the other thing too is you can still do stitch marking without having to spend the money on stitch markers. Just get
Right.
yourself some white yarn and mark
Yep.
your stitches along the same
Mhm.
way. It's the same thing. It's being innovative and using ingenuity, to figure out what can I use at home to make this easier.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
Alrighty. So do we feel like we have anything extra that we can add to this?
I don't think so. I think we have solved all of the issues, at least the ones we know of.
Yes,
Yeah?
exactly.
There might
Who
be
knows?
others,
There might be.
who knows? I did see one more, take frequent breaks to
Oh,
avoid
yeah.
eye fatigue, right?
Mhm. Yes.
So when I take my contacts out so I can take my glasses off to see, it's harder on my eyes to see with glasses than it is with contacts. Now, what I'm wearing
Mhm.
right now are reading glasses. I would love to take them off, but I won't be able to read the screen in front of me if I take it off, 'cause mama be really blind. Um, so, I just try to find the coolest looking pair of reading glasses I can,
Well, they
although I
are
have a cooler
snazzy.
pair. Well, I have a cooler pair, but I haven't made myself brave enough to wear them in public yet.
Oh, look at you. Oh my god, those
I
are so
look I
cute.
look like Dame Edna in those, if you're old
They
enough to remember Dame
they give
Edna.
me some Sally Jessy Raphael vibes, the color.
Do they really?
Yes, but it's not a bad thing.
Okay, well, maybe next broadcast, I'll
If they
pull them
were
out.
round,
But
they would
anyway,
be totally Sally Jessy, but
my eyes get tired
yeah.
when I have my glasses on, which is why I don't wear them very often, during the day.
Mhm.
So, take breaks. It's not, get up, walk around, go get a drink, whatever, go to the bathroom because, some of us do a lot of crochet and forget to get up like
Yes.
that.
And then when we
Just
try to
saying.
move, you just can't. But
Oh,
that is a
goodness.
really smart thing to say though, is, maybe set a timer for yourself.
Mhm.
Purposely limit, because we have to do the most that we can to protect ourselves, because even though this is our craft and for some of us, it's our job, we want to make sure that we're taking the very best care of ourselves in the process. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so make sure if you find that you are straining yourself or your eyes are feeling strained, set a timer and make yourself quit. It's hard
Yeah,
to
that's
do,
tough. It's tough, really tough.
or shift
Yeah,
to a lighter project.
exactly. Yep.
So, alrighty. I would like for you to tell me, what show did you watch this week?
Oh my goodness. I I haven't caught the end of NCIS yet,
Mhm.
Hawaii, so I have to watch the end of that one this season. I'm anxious to see what happens there, but I've been getting into the BritBox show. So,
Yeah.
I think I mentioned, the one that you and I are watching together for the first
Mhm.
time is Why Didn't They Ask Evans? And the
Yes.
reason I was drawn to this one because of the stars.
Yes.
I'm always interested to see what stars we see in other things come up with when they're gathered in a new drama.
Yeah.
And this one has the star of the show is Will Poulter, and I
Mhm.
actually looked up where he's one of those faces you just know you've seen him
Yes.
somewhere before. He's
Because
so
he's been around
famous,
since he was a little kid.
and he's not that old, or
No.
maybe he's older than he
Yeah.
looks, but he looks like he's got a baby face. But we
He
know
does.
him from We're the Millers, hilarious Jason Sudeikis movie.
I've not
Guardians
seen
of
that
the
one.
Galaxy. Oh, it's hilarious. The Maze Runner, and I watched that series because I read the books and they were awesome, and The
Mhm.
Chronicles of Narnia.
Mhm.
He's been in all of these fabulous dramas. But
Yeah.
anyway, the premise of the show is that he is out golfing with he kind of acts as a caddy and
Mhm.
companion for, his doctor friend, who's an older gentleman who has trouble walking, and the scenery, oh my lord, they're out on the hills of I don't know where it's shot, Scotland
That's
or
beautiful.
somewhere just gorgeous in the British Isles. And he looks down off a cliff because the golf ball has gone off the cliff and he
Mhm.
sees a body at the bottom of the
Mhm.
cliff. Decides to walk down and investigate, and it starts this whole
Mhm.
thing of him trying to figure out who the dead body is
Mhm.
and why his last words were, "Why didn't they ask Evans?
Mhm.
Who is Evans?
Mhm.
Why didn't they ask him what? And who is this guy?" Right?
And it's post, World War II.
Mhm.
So it's a period set piece, which makes it very interesting and fun to watch because, I love the sets, the costumes, the
Oh my
how are
gosh,
you
it's
gonna
gorgeous.
the cars, everything. It's been fun. Also, how they interweave relationships of like higher class, lower class, that kind of stuff
Mhm.
as the times are changing.
Yeah, it's an Agatha Christie book
Mm.
adapted to this, and Hugh Laurie was the other one that I was interested in seeing. I think he's a producer or writer or something, but he's actually in
He
it.
wrote it and directed it.
Yeah, and so, I've only watched 2 episodes, they're an hour long. At
Mhm.
the end of the 2nd episode, we finally see Hugh Laurie. Did you see that, Biz?
Yes, I've actually watched all 3 because I'm a bit of a
Oh!
binger. So I know what happens and I know who Evans is, so I'm not gonna say nothing.
Don't tell me,
Mm-mm.
I need to
Nope.
see.
And when you and I originally talked about it, you had said that it moves really slow in the first one, and you were kind of waiting to see how it was going to come out in the end, and hopefully it was gonna get more interesting. I felt like from the first episode where they did a lot of character building,
They did.
they definitely did a lot more story in second one.
Yes, and so the 2nd episode for me was
Mhm.
much better. I
Mhm.
don't know if this speaks to our sort of ADHD way of watching TV where everything needs to move fast. I don't really need that,
Yeah.
but there is a point, there's a sort of a tipping point where you are doing too much character development and not
Mhm.
and dissecting is not the right word, but interrupting the storyline so much that it's
Mhm.
hard to get a grip on the storyline. I like a
Mhm.
balance between, okay, let me know who these people are,
Agreed.
but I need to see an advancement of the story so I know what I've just gotten myself into and
Yeah.
how that carries over into the next episode.
And sometimes you really have to persevere. You have it's a like,
Yeah.
why do we have to do this while we're watching TV? I've got to make a personal choice. Am I
Yes.
investing my time in continuing with this show, or am I going to cut my losses and shut it off? Why are
Right?
we having to make these decisions?
And if I'm still making that decision in the 2nd episode, usually it's a cut our losses and run sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, yes, it does absolutely get better, and clearly, it does
Mhm.
great things in the 3rd episode, which I'll
It's
have to
very
watch this
good.
weekend.
Did you see Emma Thomas or Emma Thompson? Thomas?
Thompson. She is I
Thompson.
don't think she was wait, oh, yes, she was in the 2nd episode, right?
Yeah. But that's
Wha
like the only time you're going to see her too.
Oh, I have to go back and watch it. Yeah, I'm so bad at catching things the first time, so I have to if it's this one is jam-packed with
Oh, it is.
people and
Yes.
storyline and what's
Yes.
happening and who's g yeah, it's just so jam-packed that it benefits from a second watching, so you can "Oh, yeah, I
I
see what
would
he did that
completely
time."
agree. Yes.
Yeah,
I
'cause the
completely agree
and the
because
very
like you
first
said.
episode, he
Mhm.
pulls things out of this dead guy's pockets,
Yes.
and all of those things come back
They
throughout the
do, and they're all
story.
significant.
Ah! It's
Yes.
just such a great show.
It is. It's very good. Highly recommend. Completely clean, very family friendly. I mean, even for the dead part, there's a little tiny bit of violence, I wanna say in the 3rd, where if you don't like violence at all, but I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably a 1.5 for me
Yeah.
because I watch stuff, but,
Yeah. Your stuff is a little more violent than mine, I
it
think.
is.
Um, but this one I feel like has a level of danger in it
Mhm,
that they prove that you don't need all the blood and gore and people killing
mhm.
each other and well, people do die in this one. But you don't need all of the music that's dastardly and someone's gonna it's just a beautifully written piece.
It is. I really enjoyed it, and, apparently Emma Thompson is part of the production team along with Hugh Laurie on this, so, there's a lot of little cameos in there. I just thought it was great, and I really liked the juxtaposition of the relationship with the main characters where she's a lady and he's not.
Mhm.
So,
And he's okay with that.
yes, I mean, he wasn't threatened by it. It wasn't where, like,
Mhm.
he felt like he had to be less because they were brought up together. It was just a nice, refreshing view on it because I know a lot of the period pieces I watch, there's always this very stiff upper lip,
Mhm.
British, and they aren't allowed to have any kind of, like, close relationship with somebody. So maybe it's taking I don't know which one is the real one, you know what I mean? Maybe it's taking liberty with that freedom because it's a more modern
It I don't know, it would
production,
be
but
interesting to see how Agatha Christie originally treated it. I mean, another instance of that I saw in I think it's in the 1st episode, we find out that his father is a minister.
mhm,
Will Poulter plays the organ in his dad's church,
mhm,
but he wants for his son, which we all want for our kids, to
mm,
have an amazing job, amazing opportunities, have the
mhm,
best of everything, and when they don't take the path that we feel like they should,
mhm,
then in our minds, we almost see failure in the near future, where
mm,
Will
mhm.
Poulter is very clear, "I want to run a mechanic shop, and
Yeah,
I've invested in this in London with my
mhm,
partner, and this is what we're gonna do. Get
mhm.
over it, move on."
Yeah, and he wasn't really, asking for permission. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
he made the decision. And that was kind of nice too. I
Yeah.
liked the way they built those characters.
There's a lot of character building in this, so
Yeah,
yeah,
there
I'm
is.
excited to see the 3rd episode now. So you got
Not
me
to
I
say
know
that
what
the
my
first yeah, not to say the first episode is boring. It's just slower.
yes, it's slower. Um, and if you have trouble connecting dots, it can be a little confusing, I think.
Mhm. But they do better about connecting the dots a little, later on, the second, and especially the third. The third one, you know what's going on. So,
Good.
yeah, it'll
Yay.
be fun. Twill be fun. Alrighty.
I think
Have we
we've
solved
solved
all the
all of
problems?
these we have, and I love the comments. There's, someone who commented, "I like the white towel idea, thank you." So,
Mhm.
hopefully we've helped some of you.
Yeah.
We're not encouraging you to run out and buy a box of black yarn and start your next project, but in the eventuality that you have a black yarn project, we
Yes.
hope we've given you some helpful hints to get you through the frustrations that will inevitably befall
Mhm.
you.
Yes. Yep. Because it happens, and somebody will ask you for something in black, and you have to say yes or no.
If it's a family member, you have to say yes. I'm just saying.
Oh,
That's a
you know what
that
though? I'm gonna say I did say no.
did you?
Yeah, because my daughter, I made her a pink sweater, and she's like, "This would be so amazing in black." Nope. You're gonna
Then
have to
learn to
love that pink
crochet.
sweater because it is not happening.
Mm-mm.
I might succumb to the desire to just
See,
who knows?
I'm not saying you should, but when it comes to family asking you to do crochet,
Yeah,
just saying, it's
it's
awfully
hard to
hard to
say
say
no,
no.
for sure. Alrighty, ma'am.
It is time.
It is. All right. So I hope everybody enjoyed today's episode of There's No Crying in Crochet. Remember that we are on YouTube, so make sure that you subscribe and like to both Madam Stitch and myself, Busy Crochet. Follow us so that you are aware of every time that we do our notifications of our, because we always post early, but we're always live every Friday at 1 p.m. Central and 2 p.m.
2 PM
Eastern.
Eastern.
Yes.
Yep.
So we are going to say bye for now for this week. Next week, we're going to come back with another great subject and another great show. So I hope you show up here and join in with the chit chat.
I can't wait.
Me either. All righty. We're going to say bye for now.
See ya.